Would you think that it would be okay if a woman decided that her child should be a girl instead of a boy, that she had a medical procedure done, which removed the child's and was then sewed into a baby?
Obviously not.
Why?
Because you're the body passed.
Oh.
I mean, I guess I could see the secular.
No, you're mutilating the body, are you?
Right, but.
So what's the justification for mutilation here in this case?
I mean, I feel like a foreskin versus your reproductive organs is a little like your entire system being turned inside out.
I mean, mutilation's right? Would it be okay to tattoo a baby?
I mean, that's a pretty crazy. No.
Wait, it's more crazy to tattoo a baby than it is to cut off permanently part of their.
I mean, I haven't gotten that deep into all the biology of it, but I know that it's
Why would it be unacceptable to give a baby a tattoo, but not cut off part of their? Can you explain that to me? Why would one be okay and the other one's not okay? Like, so if a person said, for religious purposes, I tattoo babies. That's what I do. My religion requires me to tattoo them when they're born. Would you say that that was okay or not okay?
I mean, from my moral standard, no, that wouldn't be okay.
Why?
Because they're a baby.
No, so, and they can't consent to that?
Right. I get where you're going with that.
Yeah, so why would it be okay then to cut off a portion of a baby's penis?
The only answer I have for you is the Bible says so.
Okay, but the law was fulfilled. There's no requirement anymore to circumcise babies. It's not a requirement. It's not necessary.
Honestly, I would have to do more studying on that, so I don't have much of a rebuttal for you.
Well, I'll move it on. But I am against circumcision.
Right.
I mean, some of these health claims, there's many advanced countries that don't participate in this practice. They seem to do fine. The men do fine. The women do fine with it. Doesn't seem like it's necessary. There's enough botched circumcisions where I think on that basis alone, I think it'd be warranted to just completely do away with the practice. Because
can I just ask one last follow-up? I was thinking about. I wanted
Sure.
to ask you, if you think that circumcision is a requirement for Christianity, and many do, okay? If a man converts to Christianity who's uncircumcised, should they get circumcised then?
I feel like that would be a personal judgment.
Oh, wait a second. So when they can decide, then they get to make the decision. But before they can decide,
Well,
you
I mean,
get to make
I
the
would
decision.
assume that they should, but it's not a lot of people would be willing to.
Not a lot. Well, that's really weird. So intuitively, you think that
'cause of
most
the
adult
recovery
men
time.
would rather not have their penises mutilated if they could avoid it. But for some reason, you think that babies don't mind so much?
Well, no, I mean specifically because of recovery time. For babies, it's a lot quicker. For grown men, it's a lot longer.
Yeah, but I mean, wouldn't that just show their commitment to their faith even more?
Sure.
Yeah, so would you prescribe then that your husband, if he was uncircumcised, go and have his foreskin cut off?
Honestly, I don't see. I would hope my husband is circumcised because that would be a very.
But I mean, if you fell in love with him, it's not a sin to be uncircumcised.
wait, aren't you waiting until marriage?
Right, but that's you could ask that question.
You could ask it, but
Should you? Is it like morally okay to ask that? Since it's like sexual.
Well, just like it's morally okay for them to ask me my body count, yeah.
wait, that's the deal breaker, is if he's circumcised or not? Would you date a guy who's...
I'd prefer it not, honestly.
Why? Why would that matter to a pious Christian woman who's waiting?
And besides, you could just tell him to go get it circumcised, right? show his faith and commitment.
Hey, if he's willing to.
Wait, just to be clear, did you say that you thought the bowing thing was weird?
I mean, I prefer not to have to, but I didn't.
You prefer not to have to?
I didn't oppose.
So just to be clear, prefer not to do a totally benign,
but I didn't
harmless
oppose to it.
bow, but you want your partner, if he's an adult male, to consider getting a circumcision if he didn't have one in his childhood?
Well, I prefer
So
not to, but I didn't oppose to it. I didn't oppose.
Didn't oppose what?
The bow. I didn't say no.
They want you as a man, as an adult, to stimulate your own penis, but the bow, too much.
I didn't say
Too
it
much.
was too much.
Too much.
I just
Food
said
for
it was
thought.
odd, but I didn't say no.
Oh, odd to
Do
do
you think
a
that
bow.
person who doesn't get their children circumcised and they're a Christian is a bad Christian?
Like I said, I would have to do more studying on that. I'm not very well versed, on that specifically.
It
So
seems like a pretty staunch position when you say because the Bible says so.
Right. 'Cause
So
it
then if
talks
that's a
about- it
staunch
talks
position,
about
the Bible
circumcising
says
the-
so, therefore mutilate the baby's penis.
It talks about circumcising the baby.
Yeah, would you say that a parent then who refused to mutilate their child's penis would be a bad Christian?
No, because
No. Okay.
I'm not the one to make the judgment call. I mean, I could have.
If a person said that they were a Christian and worshiped Satan, would you say they were a bad Christian?
Then they wouldn't be a Christian.
Right, exactly. So you can make judgments on what is a Christian, what is not a Christian,
Right.
which things to follow, which things not to follow. So are you a bad Christian if you don't have a doctor cut off a chunk of your son's?
The question is, I mean, I honestly, no, because it's like, you get people,
No.
salvation is what makes you a Christian. There's a lot
That's
of
right, not your
good
penis
and
having
bad
a chunk cut off of it.
Christians.
Yeah.
Not everyone decides to live by everything in the Bible, so
Yeah,
no.
so then final question then, do you think that people who have uncircumcised penises who did not cut off chunks of their child's penis, do you think that those children can get to heaven still?
Yeah, salvation gets you to heaven.
Yeah, so then it doesn't require any form of salvation at all?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Well, then why the f*** would you be for circumcision?
Like I said, I'll have to do more research on that. I don't have a very good rebuttal for
I
you.
think there was like a story in the Bible about it, though, in the New Testament, where there was a bunch of people in the church, or the Jews specifically, because they always had to get it done because it was part of the law, that they were doing it and saying that the Gentiles also had to do it to be Christians, and Paul said that they didn't. If I'm not like 100% sure about that, but I'm
Well,
pretty.
the question is
sure
always
he
simple,
said.
right? And it's very simple. Can a person achieve salvation absent circumcision?
Yeah.
The absent, and is there any extra thing that they have to do to achieve salvation absent circumcision? If the answer is no, they can achieve salvation without doing anything extra, just like everybody else, then there's no justification for circumcision. It's that simple.
Well, like from my perspective, as a woman, I'm leaving it to my husband to decide what he wants to do with our sons. And from talking to my boyfriend, who I plan to marry, God willing, he said that he would want to do that. So that's my stance is, yeah, we'll do that because that's what he wants.
Yeah, but that makes no sense, right? Like think about this before you think about cutting a chunk off your kid's, okay? Let me ask you this question directly, okay? One Christian to another. Is your son's salvation going to be affected at all by you not cutting off a chunk of his?
No, it's not going to be.
Then why the fuck would you cut off a chunk of his?
I don't know. I'm not the one making the decision.
You're going to let your husband cut off a chunk of his, even though it's not going to affect his salvation at all?
If that's what he wants, I mean,
What?
personally.
That's your kid. You're going to let him cut off a chunk of
But
the
it's
kid's
his
penis?
kid too, and he's the father, and he knows from a personal perspective what it's like. So if he's saying it's okay, then I think it's okay.
Okay. Yeah, good talk, I guess, on the circumcision thing. Oh. Wait, question. Perfect guy, but he's uncut. Deal breaker?
No.
Not a deal breaker?
I have been with uncut, so it's just a preference.